Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I am Kara Williams with Williams Immigration, and we are back for another Monday morning edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration. And I like to dive right on in. Excuse me. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is the H-1B lottery. There was a second lottery held for individuals who registered in March of this year to be a part of this H-1B lottery. So go into your My USCIS account and see if your status has changed to selected. If your status is now saying selected, you are now eligible to file an H-1B petition that is indeed subject to the cap. Both caps, the master's cap and the regular cap, had additional spaces available. So USCIS ran a second lottery for both of those caps. So this is only for individuals who registered for the lottery back in March of this year. If you did not register for the lottery back in March of this year, unfortunately, this does not apply to you, and this will not allow you to re-register and get another shot at the H-1B for this fiscal year. So if you registered for the lottery back in March, you were not selected in that first round, please log into your My USCIS account and see if you were selected in the second lottery. You will know if your status has changed to selected. And of course, if you need any assistance getting that H-1B application filed, feel free to reach out to my office at 954-903-1337, or you can certainly pop us a comment or a note on this platform. The second thing I want to talk about is ESTA. So ESTA is a way for individuals from visa waiver countries to enter the country. ESTA is a way of registering with the U.S. government, and then they allow you to enter the U.S. You do not need a visa if you are with a visa waiver country and you're coming in as a visitor, but you must register through ESTA. So there have been some changes, some very recent changes for individuals, citizens, and nationals of Hungary. Their ESTA approval time is being reduced from 1 year, and it's going to now be it'll be reduced from 2 years down to 1 year. So if you're an individual from Hungary and you're applying for an ESTA, your ESTA will only be valid for 1 year, and it will be a single entry ESTA approval. So you only get to use it for one entry into the United States. And that became effective August 1st of this year. So just be aware of that. If in fact in the past you were used to getting your ESTAs and they were valid for 2 years and now all of a sudden it's valid for 1, it's not a mistake. They have made that change. So again, individuals, citizens, and nationals from Hungary, your ESTA approval is going from 2 years down to 1 year, and it will be a single use entry. So just keep that in mind. The next thing I wanted to talk to y'all about are employment authorization documents. We spent a lot of time talking about how the Immigration Service was taking an incredibly long time to process employment authorization documents, otherwise known as EADs. In some cases, it was taking a year to get those processed. And so as a stopgap measure, as a temporary measure, the Immigration Service had a policy change back in May of last year, so May of 2022, that it automatically extended employment authorization up to 540 days for some of those EAD cards. That was temporary. So beginning October 26th of this year, so October 26th, 2023, we will go back to the 180-day extension. So we're going to be reduced from the 540-day, which was the temporary extension, down to 180 days. So just keep that in mind. Any EAD application that is filed after October 26th will then have your automatic extension for 180 days if it's not processed. So Again, that 540-day extension was only ever meant to be temporary, and I haven't heard any grumblings that it's going to be made permanent. So that is important to know. So when we're filing these, when we're looking at the receipt notices, we want to look at this carefully and make sure that it has the right number of days to extend it. The next thing I want to talk to you all about are when you have a conditional permanent residence. Some folks have been having an issue getting on planes while they were overseas with their green card, their physical green card that on its face has expired, but they also have a receipt notice that extends that physical card up to 48 months. Now, that is typically for our conditional permanent residents. That's generally going to be for family members who applied for their green card through a spouse, and that marriage was less than 2 years at the time it was approved. So then their green cards were only valid for 2 years, and we know we need to remove those conditions. So those individuals under that circumstance were being held at airports because the airlines overseas, the airline employees were unclear and thought that the green cards had expired. So CBP has issued a notice to airlines letting them know that those receipt notices are valid and that those individuals should be allowed on planes. So I know that can be really frustrating when you're in the moment, and CBP certainly recognized that, and they have sent notification out to airlines. So hopefully we'll be hearing fewer and fewer and fewer of those incidences happening to people overseas while traveling. And the last thing I wanted to talk to y'all about this morning is, again, another national interest waiver tip. I've gotten a lot of comments, a lot of DMs, a lot of emails indicating that people are finding these helpful. So I have another tip for you. This is really a processing tip. So the green card process, when you get your green card through national interest waiver, is a two-part process. The first part is the I-140, and that is where you show the Immigration Service that you qualify for the national interest waiver. The second part of that green card application is where you, one, process with the consulate, or two, if you're in the United States, that's when you process your adjustment of status application. Once that second application is completed, whether it's consular processing overseas or an adjustment of status in the US, that is when you are fully approved for a green card, and that green card is then sent to you in the mail. So again, the national interest waiver green card is a two-part process. The first part is the I-140. That's where we show the Immigration Service that you meet the national interest requirements. And then the second part is when the Immigration Service looks at you as an individual and whether or not your background is such that you are eligible to enter the US as a green card holder. And as a reminder, the national interest waiver is a second preference, a green card category. So in general, individuals are going to have a master's degree or higher. They're going to need to show that their proposed career path, their proposed job, is both of substantial merit and of national importance to the United States. Second, they're going to show that they are qualified and well-positioned to advance their proposed endeavor or their career path. And third, on balance, they're going to have to show that their career path is beneficial to the United States enough to waive the requirement of having a job offer and an employer sponsor, as well as waiving the typical labor certification application that would be required and advertising for that position. So if you think that you meet the requirements for a national interest waiver or you're not sure, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to do a consultation with you and see if that is a good option for you. And if not, maybe there are some other good options for you to obtain your green card to remain or come to the United States. If you have any questions about your immigration case, feel free to reach out to my office. You can reach us at 954-903-1337. We're happy to get you scheduled with a consultation and go over your individual situation. So have a wonderful Monday and a